This man walked into court with nothing, no lawyer, no evidence, no witnesses, and yet by the time he walked out, even the judge couldn't hold back tears. At first glance, it didn't make any sense. A quiet courtroom. Wooden benches filled with murmurs, papers shuffling, a routine civil case. At least, that's what everyone thought it would be. But then, the doors opened, and he walked in slow steps, slight limp, worn-out shoes that had clearly seen better days, a faded jacket that looked like it carried years, maybe decades, of history. No briefcase, no files, no confidence, just silence. You could feel it shift in the room. Now here's the thing about courtrooms. People expect power, sharp suits, loud voices, control, strategy. But this man? He looked like he didn't belong there, and that's exactly what made everyone underestimate him, including the people sitting across from him, a team of corporate lawyers. 3 of them. Perfect suits, polished shoes, stacks of documents neatly arranged. Their body language screamed one thing: this will be easy, but here's where things start to feel off. Because the man didn't sit down immediately. He stood there, looking around. Not nervously, not confused, but almost like he was taking something in, processing, remembering. It's a subtle behavior, but psychologically this matters. People who feel out of place usually shrink. They avoid eye contact. They rush to sit down. He didn't. He just stood there for a few seconds longer than expected. And in those few seconds, the entire courtroom went quiet. Even the judge noticed. "Sir," the judge finally said, calm but firm, "please take your seat." And then he nodded, slowly sat down, and folded his hands. No shaking, no tapping, no visible anxiety. That's not fear, that's control. And control, without resources, is dangerous. Now let's talk about the case itself, because this is where things start getting even more confusing. On paper, it looked simple: a property dispute, a large development company claiming legal ownership over a piece of land that this veteran, yes, a decorated military veteran, refused to vacate. According to them, he had no legal right to be there, no updated documents, no valid claim, no case, and yet he showed up alone. That's the first red flag. Because people don't walk into court like this unless they believe in something deeper than paperwork, or they have nothing left to lose. And those 2 types of people, they are the most unpredictable. Now the prosecution, or technically the corporate legal team, opened strong, confident voice, structured argument, clean narrative. "This is a straightforward case, Your Honor. The defendant has been occupying the property illegally for over 7 years. We have provided clear documentation proving our ownership." You've heard this tone before. Calm, controlled, almost rehearsed. It's designed to make everything sound inevitable. And for a moment, it worked. Even people in the gallery started nodding. Because on the surface, everything lined up. Documents don't lie, right? But here's where things get uncomfortable. Because while the lawyers were speaking, the veteran didn't react. Not once. No frustration. No disagreement. No visible emotion. Just listening. Eyes forward, hands still folded. And this is where behavioral analysis becomes crucial. When someone is falsely accused, they usually react. Anger, confusion, denial, something. But when someone stays completely still like that, it often means one of 2 things. Either they've accepted defeat, or they know something no one else does. And then it was his turn to speak. No lawyer, no notes, nothing. He slowly stood up. The room leaned in. You could feel the anticipation, mixed with a bit of pity, because let's be honest, most people were expecting him to stumble, to say something emotional but legally irrelevant. But instead, he said something that made absolutely no sense at the time. "I don't have papers," he began, voice steady, slightly rough, "but I have something else." And then he stopped. Silence. Now this is a psychological pause. Intentional or not, it forces attention. It creates tension. It makes people need to know what comes next. Even the judge leaned forward slightly. "What do you have, sir?" the judge asked, and the veteran looked up straight at the bench, not at the lawyers, not at the audience, at the judge. And he said, "Time." And just like that, confusion spread across the courtroom because time isn't evidence, it's not legal proof, it's not admissible. So what was he talking about? Was this a mistake, a misunderstanding, or something far more calculated? The corporate lawyers exchanged glances, subtle smirks. This was exactly what they expected, an emotional defense with no legal weight. But here's the part no one noticed in that moment. The judge didn't interrupt him. Instead, he watched closely. Because experienced judges don't just listen to words, they read people. And something about the way this man said, "time," didn't sound like desperation. It sounded like a warning. And then, the veteran reached into his jacket. No one knew what he was about to pull out. No files had been submitted. No evidence had been listed. And suddenly, the courtroom shifted again. Tension, curiosity, even the lawyers straightened up. Because in court, surprises are dangerous, and whatever he was about to reveal, it wasn't part of the plan. He slowly pulled something out, small, worn old, and placed it gently on the table. No explanation, no words, just placed it there and stepped back. Now the entire courtroom was staring at that object, trying to figure it out, trying to understand, but no one spoke until the judge finally broke the silence. "Sir, what is that?" And the veteran looked down at it for a moment, then back up, and said something that would completely change the direction of this case. "This is why they're lying." And just like that, everything we thought we understood about this case started to fall apart.